to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive, left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
Back on Hot Mic, right into the frying pan out of the All-Star break, and right on time is our guy Cory Provus. What they didn't know off air is the best part. His appearance is brought to us by Weldon's Tire Service in Denver as the Twins open up the second half of the baseball season. How was your break, my man? Did you have a good couple days off?
I did, yeah. My wife and I went out to Aspen for a few days,
right.
And never been out there before, and so we flew out to Colorado on Monday, and then drove. It's about a 3.5-hour drive from Denver to Aspen. Beautiful through the mountains. We went through Independence Pass. Just gorgeous scenery on the drive. So highly recommended. And we had a great time, and then drove back to Denver last night.
So did you catch any of the All-Star game, or did you completely unplug?
I unplugged. I did see highlights. I'll say this, though. This was the first time that I was at least interested in the home run derby since what? Miguel Sano?
Yeah.
When was that? In Miami, whenever that was, 18, 19, somewhere around. I think Aaron Judge won that derby that year. But I think there were a lot of certain emotional ties to following this one with Byron, being back in the state of Georgia, and the way that his first half ended and the season he's having. And so I saw clips, but I didn't see much of it live, any of it at all, nor did I even see the game. But I followed it, posts with some highlights and some stories. But I don't really watch too much of the All-Star game festivities. I really unplug and just kind of lock in on my family.
Well, the big talker obviously was the swing off that happened to decide it, and it was interesting as a baseball purist. I'm like, okay, it's an exhibition game to settle it. I don't know if the baseball people that run things see it like, oh, maybe they want to run with this during the regular season, because it took me a while to warm up to the Ghost Man. I can't see this deciding games, Corey. I hope we don't go down that road.
I'd be surprised if we do. Now, I'm with Trevor Plouffe on this road trip, and he was down in Atlanta with John Boy Media, and I'm curious to get his take on all this, because I think he'll have great perspective, both from being there, but also chatting with the players about it. So, I saw how it ended. I saw that Kyle Schwarber hit the 3 home runs. I don't know how we got to that point. I don't know what the format was, how many participants there were. Was it a knockout round, like a shootout? I don't know that. But I did see how it ended, and I'd be surprised. What I am a fan of is that I think that the ghost runner idea, that lead runner, I think that should start inning number 12.
Okay.
That I think you play out 2 more innings. Now that the pace of play the first half of the season was 2 hours and 37 minutes. So the pitch clock is working.
Yep.
It's been great. So now that we have that, and on the occasion that we have a very long game, which are pretty rare, the Twins have played, 8 extra inning games this season. I think it's something like that. That I would be a fan of playing out innings 10 and 11 as they were.
Yeah, I like
and then
that
if you
idea.
get to the 12th, then you start.
Yeah, I could get on board with that. Because it's taken me a while on the Ghost Man idea, but I like that, playing normal, because we're not playing 15, 16 inning games. The Twins did that. It seemed like they had a bunch of them about 4 or 5 years ago, but nobody's doing that anymore.
And I don't miss those games. And I don't
No.
miss those 16, 17 inning games that were marathon games. And then all of a sudden the next day there's 3 new bullpen guys that are in there because you exhausted your pen the day before. Yeah, I don't think it's fair for the players because it's costing guys jobs. So I don't miss those days. And on the occasion that we have, a 15 inning game, 14, it was there maybe 2, 3 a year in the game, then it's like, okay, has this been working? But those are so rare. So I do like the idea of playing out a few more innings, as we did 1 through 9.
Take me back to Saturday and Byron Buxton's day, obviously with his bobblehead day, and then you were right on it. I think after his second at bat that he had the triple and the single already done. That this was so cycle watch started for you right after that second at bat.
Yeah, because the single is the rare thing for Buxton. The bulk of his hits are extra base hits.
True.
Like he doesn't get too many singles. Like, honestly, I think that's the hardest one for him to do would be to get the single. But once he got the triple out of the way, I'm like, okay, that this could certainly happen here today. And I think that date will go down as the Buck Truck game. I think Twins fans remember, Kirby's, 6-hit game. I think there are some signature games in Twins history. And I love what Tim Laudner said post game because he was there. He was with Puck when he had the 6-hit game. He was at the Dome watching Mauer have his 5-hit game. There are some signature games in Twins history. And I think that game, coinciding with his bobblehead too, Dom,
Yeah,
with the Buck Truck
right.
bobblehead that day. I think that's the Buck Truck game for me. I think when I look back on it, and I wish I said that at the time, that I think that this game will always be remembered in Twins history as the Buck Truck game.
Yeah.
That he hit for the cycle. It was his bobblehead, 0-2 count, hit the home run against Andrew Heaney, having a really good season. It was just an amazing, and it was cool that we got a chance to speak with him live on the air and let him interact with the crowd. I think was pretty special. So that to me is one I'll never forget.
5 for 5. And the last one, I mean, the home run, it wasn't just a wall scraper, Corey. That was a
No, he killed it.
bomb.
He killed it. And I had to build up with the call there a little bit because center field is tricky. Center field, he got it, but then you see it off the juniper plants. But center field, I've been fooled. Believe me, fans, let me know about it. I've been fooled, quite a few times with balls out the center. The ones to right, you can see. I think that's the easiest. I think those are the easiest ones to call. But left is fair, but center sometimes can be tricky because it is deep. It's back there. You don't know what the wind is doing. O'Neal Cruz is playing center field. He's 6'7". He covers so much ground. He can fly. You weren't sure, and then when he got to the wall and he saw that ball, hit off the back wall there, you knew he got it almost 430 feet to make it happen.
How do you feel about the homestand? They were 6-3, but it easily could have been 9-0. I mean, how did you evaluate how they played there?
I think Sunday was a big one. Yeah. I think there's just something to be said. Look, you won 2 out of 3 against some really good teams. Tampa Bay playoff team, the Cubs, arguably the best team in baseball. And that was what I heard, and I was away from that series. But from what it sounded like, it was a pretty pro Cub crowd at Target Field for those 3 games. And but then the Skeens Ryan matchup was special on Friday. Neither pitched all that deep, but both kept their teams in the game. The atmosphere was incredible. Yeah. And then Byron had his game on Saturday, and I thought, all right, they win Sunday, they go to the break at 500. So that was a swing game to me. That instead of being 500, they're 2 games under. So they're still, within striking distance of the wild card. I think for the division right now, I'm almost ready to. I think we all say punt on that. I mean, it's a double-digit deficit here, even though the Tigers kind of limped their way to the All-Star break as well. I feel like Sunday's game was significant. That I don't think the players or staff would admit it, but there's a difference to me mentally being 500 as opposed to now being 2 games under.
Considering how they played the month of June to get back to 500 by the All-Star break, I think that would have, all right, let's go, right?
Yeah. And now you can't. Now you got to keep it going here. Yep. I mean, Colorado is historically bad. Yep. I heard a stat on a podcast this morning, Dom. First team in baseball history to lose 50 games before winning 10. I mean, I feel like we're doing deja vu with the White Sox last year, like a Mad Lib right now. Like take out the White Sox, insert the Rockies this year, but they're on pace to be even worse. So I mean, this is a bad team, and especially at home, their starters have really highest DRA in the game, defensively not very good. So all that being said, take care of business. I mean, the Twins I saw this the other day, that the rest of the season, they had the 3rd easiest schedule left in baseball. That's based on opponent winning percentage left these last 60-plus games, whatever it is. So the schedule is favorable. You've got, obviously, the Rockies. The Dodgers are going to be tough. Yep. But then you come home against Washington. Red Sox, red hot. But then you get back into some divisional play with the Royals and Guardians, White Sox. The Twins haven't seen much of them lately. That'll change here once we get into August. So take advantage while you can. You'd love to take all 3 with the Rockies, but I think tonight, start off with game 1 and keep that momentum going that you had on the homestand. Because if you lose that momentum, like if they stumble here, drop 2 out of 3, so much of what they did well, I think, is erased just because you came here against the worst team in baseball, and at minimum, you have to win the series. But you're thinking, all right, let's go big here and take all 3.
Well, we brought up the Rockies during May or whenever when they were really, really, really bad. Not that they're any great shakes now. And I noticed, I think we may have brought this up when the White Sox were out in Denver not that long ago. There was 120,000 fans
Yeah.
there for the 3 games. I'm really interested to watch the broadcast this weekend to see what is Colorado doing to still get 35 to 40,000 people there a night.
We're going to show it because it's going to be that way tonight. And I
Yeah.
think there's going to be quite a few Twins fans. I saw some Twins fans in town even yesterday and last night. Quite a few Twins fans, make this trip. Why not? It's a beautiful time of year out here. The stadium is gorgeous. I mean, just with the setting that you have with the Rocky Mountains in the backdrop. But we're going to showcase the area in right field because the Rockies were ahead of their time with what they did in right field. They made right field kind of like just above. I believe there's one level of seats just beyond the wall. Then above that, it is all standing room. It is all entertainment.
Huh.
It is bars and music, and the game is almost the backdrop. That if you're in your 20s, in your 30s, you want to go out and have some fun, that's where you go on a Friday night. Because Blake Street is still bumping. I mean, we were at dinner last night with my brother-in-law and his wife, and Blake Street is hopping. There's a
Yeah.
lot of action on Blake Street. So the days of the Blake Street bombers of Bichette and Galarraga and Walker, those names are long gone, but there's still that vibe around this team. And that's what I think is so frustrating for Rocky fans
Yeah.
is that, look, we're showing up, but where's the investment? I mean, the Chris Bryant contract has been a killer. I mean, we won't see him this series. He may never play again. He's got this horrible back issue that, I mean, here was a guys that were the MVP, world champion Cub team in 2016, and the Rockies took a chance. It was an odd time because they got rid of Nolan Arenado's contract and then used some money to sign Bryant. It was a weird exchange, and Bryant's barely played. So it's been a sad ending to what looked to be a potential Hall of Fame career. Yeah, but Chris Bryant's not in the mix. They're going to get one of their better players back tonight. Their shortstop, Ezekiel Tovar, who's a good player, Gold Glover. Led all the baseball in doubles last year. They've missed him with a hip injury, oblique injury. So they'll get him back. Their lone all-star was their catcher, Hunter Goodman, who can rake. Defensively, not as sound, but this guy's got some pretty gaudy numbers offensively.
I'm interested because I think you and I talked about this last week or maybe the week prior, seeing the end of like the Rays game of fans there, of what the Twins, like, how do you copy what Colorado's doing? I know you can't bring the ballpark or the setting, but the idea can translate, I would think, to say, get people in the ballpark, especially with the Twins are a competitive team. The Rockies aren't even close to being a competitive team.
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I had the easy
Yeah.
answer with how they can do that. And I don't know. I'm sure, like anything, that ticket prices, I'm sure they drop once the first pitch is thrown. I would
Right.
imagine you can go on the secondary market and get in at a reasonable rate. And again, you're looking for a standing room ticket. You're not even looking for a seat. So you
Right.
just get yourself in the ballpark, and then at that point, you look around, you see all the action. You don't mind spending probably $15 on a beer at that point. Maybe they have a deal on Fridays. I don't know that, but yeah, we're going to showcase this crowd because they're going to pack them in tonight, which makes for a great atmosphere. Despite the on-field product being historically bad, people still come out.
We'll break. We got much more with Cory. We come back. We'll preview the Dodgers series and a couple other ideas being thrown around about baseball, including the Olympics. We'll get Cory's thoughts on that. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. We're back to wrap up Hour 1 of Hot Mike on a Friday right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Cory Provus back with us from Denver. His appearance is, of course, brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. Twins and the Rockies coming up tonight, 7:30, about a 7:40 first pitch. It's A to Z for the Twins on this road trip. The Rockies are Z, and then it's A with the Dodgers starting on Monday. We were visiting off air. For me, I want to see the whole kit and caboodle here. I want to see Ohtani pitch. I want the whole deal when they face the Dodgers starting on Monday.
Yeah, just like with the Pirates, I was hoping that Paul Skeens
Right.
lined up in that series, and we got a chance to see this amazing talent. I hope that the most talented player ever to play our game is going to be on display in Shohei Ohtani. I want to see him pitch, the hitting. I want to see the whole show because I think that's the fun of it. I don't have to compete against it. I just have to call it. But yeah, going to Dodger Stadium is awesome. I love going there. It's going to be packed. And they've been banged up. They have got so many injuries with their starting pitching and their bullpen for that matter. They might get Blake Trinan back in their bullpen here for that series. But, despite all the money they have spent, it says a lot about their payroll and their talent. They could still be where they're at
Yep.
when they've had 15, 16 different pitchers on the IL. at various points here
Man.
this season. So it's still a great lineup, 1 through 9. No easy out there. I hope Kershaw pitches too, because last time the Twins saw Kershaw at Dodger
Oh,
Stadium, they knocked him around pretty good. So yeah, we're seeing a Hall of Famer's career kind of come to an end here with Kershaw pitching the All-Star game the other day. So yeah, I hope Otani's on the mound. I want to see Kershaw on the mound. I'm down for the whole show, and the Twins head to LA starting on Monday.
Corey, for the Twins fans that don't pay attention to the Dodgers, how much is Otani actually pitching now?
Yeah, he's not pitching all that deep. They're building him up, and it almost looks like small, increments of innings here. But with that, the velocity has been fantastic. He's almost throwing. I think I saw a note that he's throwing harder now than he was before. So coming off the surgeries, the elbow, the shoulder, you name it. But yeah, he's not going to go 7 innings. I think he's still going just a few innings here and there, but he's still hitting. He's still mashing, and it's going to be awesome. I'm down to see the show. It doesn't look like Joe Ryan is going to pitch in that series. I think Ryan is going. I think he's scheduled to throw here on Sunday. So I think we're lined up as Paddock tonight, to be determined tomorrow, and then I believe Ryan on Sunday. I wonder though if there's a chance that Zebby Matthews comes back in this series.
Yep.
Zebby, and we kind of missed this on Sunday during the Pirates series. Zebby rehab with the Saints. He went 4 innings and he struck out 9. So Zebby looked pretty sharp in that first rehab outing. So maybe Zebby is in play.
Yep.
The Twins, I think they haven't really said much about Saturday, and I wasn't on the team charter, but I wonder if he's an option. I'm just thinking about how this weekend might play out. I'm sorry I'm jumping around here.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
we talked about the Dodgers, but just thinking about how it might play out this weekend. I wonder if Zebby's back in play.
There's a lot of question marks right now on the graphic we have about starting pitchers for this weekend for the matchup with the Rockies. I got an email to ask you about, and this is long term with obviously the Tony Clark, the head of the Players Association, was thrown out about they don't want to have a salary cap. I know we don't talk about labor battle here, but that potential war is out there. The email asked, do you see a potential labor stoppage coming in 2026?
I do. So it'll be 2027. So I think, because the CBA expires, I think it's December 1st, 2026.
Yeah.
So the 2026 season, I think that'll be played. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned. I just think it can't happen again. Come on.
Right?
It just cannot happen again. Let's go. Let's figure it out. Commissioner Manfred, did mention in an article, I think back in spring training, that, locking out players is part of a leverage play. I understand where he's coming from. I don't like the manner in which he said that, because I think that's kind of says, hey, a lockout's not the worst thing in the world. Well, that impacts jobs. It impacts employment. It impacts everything. It impacts feel for the game. So I hope we don't get there again. You have a lot of smart people. The ratings are up for baseball, both regionally, nationally, seeing some good markers too with attendance. So now is just a horrible time, to try and stop the sport. I think you can say owners and players. I think there's going to be some infighting between owners too. I think before you even get to the players about a salary cap that some want it, some don't. And I think before they even get to how the players feel about it, I think that has to be resolved.
Yeah.
Like the owners have to be on one page as they go into these negotiations. They just can't have this infighting and then deal with the players, because that to me delays the process even more.
The other topic that came up, and I thought this was, idiotic, frankly, to bring up, because if you're talking about labor stoppage, but they want obviously the players want to go play in the Olympics, knowing the NFL is going to be there. Obviously, the NBA is going to be there. I think that would be really, really interesting. I don't know how you do it baseball-wise if you start the season earlier so you're not going all the way to Thanksgiving. What do you think about the potential of a week-long baseball tournament in L.A. for the Olympics?
I would love it. I would love it. Logistically, no idea how they do that.
No.
I also don't know if that waters down the WBC.
Yep.
Because I do like the WBC, and the WBC is coming back next year. So I'm a fan of that. But I'd be all in. I remember hockey did that a while ago, right?
Yep.
Hockey did that. They shut the season down for a couple of weeks, right, Dom? And
They did.
And they let them play, and I think that's great. And they did that this year. What was the international tournament they did this year?
Four nations face-off is what they did. It was really good.
That was really compelling to watch. I mean, they got all this fighting going. I mean, it was passion. I thought that was great. So I would be all for it. That I would love for somehow they figure out for there to be, Olympics and the major league players get to participate in the field, I think would be awesome.
Yeah, just imagine that Ohtani Trout scene we had at the World Baseball Classic at the Olympics. Now that would be holy cow. People be on board with that.
And I think that lit a fuse. I think there's going to be more U.S. pitchers that are going to be more inclined to join the team than we had before. Because position players were in. I mean, the top position guys, they played. It was the starting pitching that was lacking. And I wonder, because I was watching it, I thought it was awesome. Trout, Ohtani, game on the line.
It was great.
That I think that lit a fuse. That I hope that, and Paul Skeens, he's going to be in there. Mark DeRosa is going to manage that team. I hope Tarek Skubal's out there as well. I mean, I hope that the top pitchers, American-born pitchers, are out there competing, and because I think that enhances the field, enhances the interest even more.
It's great to see you, bud. Have a great call this weekend. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
All right, Dom. Thanks, buddy.
Cory Provus joining us from Denver. Twins and the Rockies coming up tonight, 7:30 from Denver. It's another 7 o'clock start on Saturday and then an afternoon game on Sunday. Honestly, take it in. The ballpark is great, and it's going to be packed. They've won 20 games, and it's going to be packed there. Great stuff. His appearances each and every Friday at 9:30, brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. We appreciate them sponsoring his segment. We'll break. We come back. We'll start hour 2 on this Friday. Got plenty of hockey talk coming up. Brad Schlossman will join us on UND, what's going on in the offseason, and college hockey on fire right now. We'll do that when we start hour 2 right after this.